Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much again for joining me here. I hope you're having a phenomenal day. We've got a critical update. We're going to talk about NVIDIA earnings reports here. This is going to be coming at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today, and also some parabolic behavior from some altcoins we're going to be looking at as well. So be sure to stick around. We've got an important one here today. Let's take a closer look. All right, folks, let's go ahead and start with the first and foremost. NVIDIA is set to go ahead and hit a pretty significant price swing here with earning reports today. So if we look at the charts, just to clarify, we are coming up to a key level resistance. It is important to recognize that breaking through this level, which I think is a distinct probability based on how many times they've retested this range, we're going to see a continuation higher pending the reports here for earnings are not poor. Now, keep in mind, the reason why this is relevant and it's specific to crypto is because of GPU mining, essentially, with NVIDIA cards is a very relevant thing. If they have a bad price or bad earnings report, the price goes down, we could see the price of majority of cryptos go down too. It's been a very consistent thing in its past here with earnings reports for NVIDIA. Okay, so just some kind of friendly advice, be very careful. Trading today, when we see the traditional markets close right around that 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is roughly when we're going to see that happen. Taking a look also as well, we're going to take a quick peek here at the back-end data here for the crypto market overview and just get perspective and let you know that Ethereum has been front-running altcoins consistently right now. So majority of alts are kind of stunted out. Ethereum's absorbing all that market capitalization. We can see that reflected here where we got Ethereum doing very, very well, basically running sideways as far as market cap, and then altcoins pumping here in the relative recent past. So the good news is we're seeing a lot of money flowing away from stablecoin, and with all that combined together, that provides us with a very good situation overall, and that you shouldn't be super concerned with taking long on alts, or longs on alts rather, that there's a lot of potential for further upside, more so than downside based on these metrics here. Keep in mind that can change on a dime. It happens all the time, but for the most part, as of this recording, we're looking pretty decent, and I'm expecting altcoins to continue to do well. They've bottomed out very nicely after all those manipulative pullbacks occurred. I don't know if you saw it, but there was about $2.6 billion in liquidation, in Bitcoin being sold in roughly the last 5 trading days. And that occurred pretty significant, and that pushed the price action down for Bitcoin, obviously a lot. Now we're starting to rally back, breaking our descending trend. That's a good sign overall. Okay, we'll dive into that here in a minute, but just know overall here at this point, with less manipulation of the market, we're starting to see that slow recovery here, okay? And I think it's going to perpetuate into some really good stuff here. So let's go ahead and take a look at the backend data here for Bitcoin and kind of just recognize some important stuff. First of all, top traders are kind of leveling out. You can see this here basically where they're actually losing, or essentially in a position right now where we're seeing just as many longs as we are shorts with the average top trader. Now, these are top traders who have large bags. Of course, they use a lot of margin, but their margin amount is increasing here. So there's some interesting stuff going on the back end. Well, that's not super, super important. It's important for us to recognize that when margin starts to increase and volatility starts to increase, then the price starts to move faster. Okay, and that's a good gauge of. But just taking a quick look here at open interest, just want to reinforce resistance at roughly 115 to 116K, specifically 114,400. Or sorry, 114.6, 114,600 is that previous resistance level. It was supposed to work as a support level, but the market makers destroyed a lot of people here and just sold off super hard. That was roughly 3 trading days ago. So that was a pretty monumental change of pace. But at this point, liquidation short delta is still higher, basically implying there's more shorts than longs. And we've got this $113,000 to $114,000 local area of tentative resistance, but more importantly, there is liquidation there. Keep in mind, liquidation accumulates at support and resistance levels. It's not the other way around, but at this point, there's that big old chunk right there, 114,500 for that liquidation, okay? So ultimately, good stuff here overall for Bitcoin, more potential or propensity to go higher. We are also breaking through our resistance of about 112,000. That's a previous all-time high, as well as a local bottom. So you can kind of see that reflected here. So those are mostly positive things here in the sense, if you didn't catch my video from earlier today or yesterday, we are taking longs at this point in our community. So far, we have a profitable trade here with our Dogecoin long. We got in at roughly 21.5 cents. Okay, so all in all, good stuff there. And yes, you're right. You do see this correct. We are bringing a new exchange to our community. That'll be available on the 1st of September. We're gonna have a new promo available. I'll obviously describe all of that later, but just know that's coming because a lot of folks are wanting some alternative options, especially those in Europe who don't have a lot of trading choices. These are they're very compliant and a very good exchange for European and majority of all other traders. So when we take a look here at the 4-hour time frame, we're above the descending trend line here. So short term, to make it simple here for Bitcoin, the short term trend is up. We've established higher highs and higher lows, and we got to presume that's going to continue until we hit these resistance ranges. We zoom out a bit further, we can recognize though that as far as resistance is concerned, we have a tremendous amount of volume at 117, 118, and then also 116,000 for that open interest range. So between now and just say 116, I think the likelihood of the price going higher is greater. And just generally speaking, we're looking pretty solid here in the overall sense. You got to recognize though, the macro, the daily time frame for Bitcoin is not looking great. We got some confluence there at 116.5 with our moving averages, and once more a point of control above the price. So expect some slowing pressure when we see that 116 to 118K range. I think that's a realistic probability there. Now let's take a look here at some altcoins, kind of transition over here. Now there's no backend data here for CRO coin, unfortunately, so we don't have liquidation data, but I can tell you that this coin is rocking and rolling. There's likely a fundamental catalyst, which I'm not aware of. I didn't look into it at all. If you know of what it is, go ahead and comment below. This coin is very pumpy. It's also fairly dumpy afterwards too. In other words, it tapers off pretty consistent when that happens. So in its history, it's very good about going up fast and coming down semi-steady / slower, but also quickly if it depends on how you look at it. So looking at the weekly though, just give you some perspective here. Outside the local high here of roughly 21 cents, we've got a pretty much our all-time high closure at about 75 cents. So if the price continues up higher, we could very well see some prices like that. There's no way to anticipate how high it's going to go. It all depends on the market sentiment. The last time we saw this kind of push here, we had some pretty significant marketing happening with them. They had a really big marketing campaign and it pushed the price action higher really fast. So just be mindful of this coin. Adjust your stop loss higher as you get into profit and continue in profit. Try not to get super greedy, but also make sure you don't secure profits too early either. So the key takeaway here is that from an analysis perspective, it's very difficult to anticipate what's going to happen next. I could pull up some Fibonacci retracement levels and give you some imaginary numbers, but I'm not going to do that because that doesn't make a ton of sense in situations like this because if I give you 50 different possible scenarios, Elliott wave, for example, then you're going to be attaching yourself to the wrong things because I'm always going to be right if I give you a lot of different possibilities. Okay. The key takeaway here is our local high, basically our daily candlestick closure. We spent the most amount of time there at that resistance at roughly 21 cents. If the price pulls back, that would be a solid consideration for a long. Between now and then, if you're going to FOMO in, just make sure you FOMO in responsibly and use low leverage, low position size. Okay. Don't get too crazy, especially at this price point. So that's kind of where we're at there. It's pretty well overextended. No other way around it. We are at a 9 on TD sequential, so oftentimes the price action will reverse itself or slow down at the very least when we hit basically 36 hours of continuation in the same direction with very little retracement. Okay, but as you can see here, this does reinforce this resistance or new support potential. You can see how the price action essentially tried 4 or 5 times before it broke through that 21 cent barrier and hasn't looked back since. It's very statistically likely or probable that we're going to see a retest that level before the next leg up. So my money's on 21 to 22 cents being a potential reality for us if the price were to pull back. Between now and then, I'd be very careful in trusting anyone who tries to analyze that coin just based on the simple fact that you're basically just shooting in the air, hoping to hit something that's moving, right? It's difficult. That's the easy way to understand it. So the best thing to do is to avoid situations like that almost altogether. That's just my friendly advice. Anyways, let's take a look here at Litecoin next, kind of double check. Let's go ahead and make sure I got the right charts pulled up here. I think it's over here. We are looking at Litecoin is this guy right here. Okay, so the backend data for Litecoin is as follows. We've got open interest at 122 and 127. Short liquidation delta is high. We still have a lot more shorts than longs. And then we also have some liquidation above the price and below the price. So this doesn't tell us a heck of a lot as far as direction is concerned, but it does tell us there's more people shorting this coin and that there's a good opportunities to short if we see the 122 to 127 range retested. That's a far ways away though, okay? So between now and then on the 4-hour time frame, we haven't broken our descending trend line. We've barely broken above the 20-day SMA, and we have all moving averages above the price as well as consistency here with previous closures at 121 and a point of control at 121. So I'm going to consider, and once more, I'm going to always reevaluate before we get there, but I'm going to want to add an alert here at about 21 cents to consider, sorry, 121 or 120, that range of 120 to 121, to consider a short in that level. Okay, and the main reason why is just because a lot of times you'll see dead cat bounces or dead cats where they come up here to break that descending trend line. People go long, and then the price gets hammered down. The key takeaway is we got a lot of exit liquidity at the 120, the low 120s. So the probability of this price rejecting at that level is higher, under the impression Bitcoin isn't like mega bullish by then. All right. So we'll double check that again later, but that's my general consensus there. And the daily time frame is transitioning bearish, but it hasn't fully transitioned yet. So we are seeing some bearish divergences here, specifically on our moving averages, but we haven't surpassed this 50 range on the RSI. So I'm venturing to guess we're going to see a rejection in the 120s if we get there. That's kind of what we're looking at. All right, so that's where we're at here for Litecoins. Go ahead and move on to AVAX and double check. This chart looks terrible, by the way, but slightly bullish too, and I'll explain more so what I mean by that here in a minute. Taking a look here at AVAX, first of all, tremendous amount of open interest in the $25 to $27 range. Okay, it does emphasize resistance above us, but we're starting to see this dissipation of short liquidation delta, implying that a reversal is potential, and also with liquidation remaining above the price, more propensity for further upside. So this does increase the odds of continuation. Keep in mind we're at an 8 on TD sequential, so we have been moving for 32 hours in the same direction. So I think a pullback would make a lot more sense. If it were to pull back to these local moving averages here between 24 and 24.50 roughly, that would be a solid consideration for a long. Those are the kind of longs I like to take. Bullish back tests of these moving averages and or just that generic area of interest. Taking a look at the daily though, we are looking pretty bullish here. We're above all moving averages. If we double check our momentous indicators, they are kind of giving us some false positives, but we're remaining above 50 on the RSI. While money flow index is a little bit low, I really like the way that I see the way that we're maintaining above those moving averages. Okay, and if we do take a look here at the 4-hour time frame, we can see we are establishing higher highs and higher lows, or more specifically, higher lows. The higher highs have yet to be established, but we will see here soon if we were to see a bit of a back test. So overall, while it's not perfect, it never truly is. We see a lot more confirming factors, specifically on the 4-hour time frame, of a momentum shift and the likelihood of higher, further upside. So me, as per usual, I like to wait for the price pullback a little bit and then get into the next leg up. So if we get lucky and we do see a 24.50 range, that's going to be an interesting area for me to consider a long position. Okay. So a lot of things need to happen between now and then. Bitcoin needs to close above 112,000 though. We really need to see 112K or higher today for Bitcoin. That's a big and important number based on that being a key level resistance. Okay, so that's where we're at there. Of course, for AVAX, moving on to ONDO. Let's quickly recognize ONDO is, it's not in great shape with all the resistance above us. We have a tremendous amount of liquidation short delta 2 at about 120 million. All in all, this is not an optimal situation to take a long into. We actually had to close out our long. It invalidated a couple of days ago when we had that massive pullback. Now I'm bullish generally and speaking on ONDO in the general sense, but we got to recognize that this $1 mark will prove to be a resistance range for us, just based on the simple fact that that level has been consistently retested, and it's also a psychological resistance. All that said here, though, on the 4-hour time frame, we can see that we are shifting bullish, but haven't quite yet. We're up over 50 on the RSI, but it's kind of weak. We have some momentous indicators letting us know we're in good shape. We have a potential cup and handle pattern here playing out as well. So those are positive signs on the smaller time frame. Just don't kid yourself here on the daily time frame. It's not looking bullish yet. Okay, so I would say breaking a descending trend here would be super important. So breaking this lower high pattern on the macro would be a big deal. Once more, that's going to require us to be back up over $1. So if you can see here, the point of control, 101, almost exactly there, $1, that's going to be the resistance. So if you do take a long right now, just know $1, I'm going to see some exit liquidity there, and there's a decent chance we see a correction at that level. Okay, so just more confirming factors letting us know that we haven't broken bullish, and it's best to kind of hang out and wait on the sidelines for a better opportunity, because it could very well sell off again like we saw recently. All that said, let's go ahead and quickly look at ICP and double check 515, 520, and also 550. Are two huge areas of open interest, i.e. that's resistance. And then same thing here as well with liquidation short delta being high. there's a lot more reason why the price action is going to go lower. Furthermore, we do have a significant area of liquidation at 480 and respectively 520 above the price. 520 is technically a little closer, so we may see that first, but we are still in a descending trend line, establishing lower highs, lower lows. A lot of confluence at 540 with the moving averages. And if we take a look at 50 on the RSI, we're still underneath that. And then we look at the 4-hour time frame, we're barely shifting gears, barely up over the 20-day SMA. I think it's very premature to consider a long. We want to be above this descending trend line first. So me personally, if the price kind of comes up like this, hangs out, and comes back down to the $5 range, that's a better consideration for a long than it is right now, traveling into a resistance and or that descending trend line being below all these moving averages. I don't really like what I see here, but again, if it's your favorite coin, you feel a little different, maybe a different story altogether, but be careful trading coins because they're your favorite. All right, emotions attached to favoritism. So just be sure to look at the facts here. There's more confirming factors that we are not ready to break out this coin yet, and more likelihood of either further downside or at least sideways action. So me personally, I'm going to be looking for a closure, either a retest of 540 or a closure on above this descending trend line at the very least, and see where Bitcoin's at that time before I take a trade of this coin. Once more, every time you take a trade with any of these altcoins, look at Bitcoin first, understand the overall direction, and understand the correlation, how the coins are communicating. Right now, XRP is not performing extremely well, while majority of altcoins are doing the same. It's not an optimal situation to take a long into, especially when we don't know if Bitcoin's going to hold above 112,000 yet. I feel like it will. Most of the coins, most of the confirming factors for Bitcoin are there. But once more, we're seeing this coin lag behind. It's just too high of a risk to consider long. Anyways, I like to say that or kind of emphasize that because some people seem to forget and or just to reiterate, I'm always going to shoot you straight. I'm always going to give you the facts. And I'm not biased in this coin or any coin specifically. Just letting you know where we're at. Cool. I hope you find benefit in that. Thank you so much again for being an awesome part of my life. Do not forget to like the videos, comment below if you get a chance. Join us on Twitter, Telegram, and Discord if you want to stay abreast on our trade alerts and a bunch of other cool stuff there. It's all available for you there. But all these charts are provided there too. So hope you find benefit again. Have a great rest of your day. Look forward to seeing the next one. Take care of yourself out there.